Good afternoon, everyone. I see there are quite a few of you have already joined in, have sent in good afternoons as well. A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Prachi Garg, and I will be taking your business correspondence and reportings chapter 2 and 3 simultaneously, and there are two chapters afterwards also. To begin with, let's start with how are you all doing? I hope everybody is keeping safe and everybody is staying at home and preparing for your exams ahead. And you're taking the most from these classes that is organized by the institute. These classes have been specially been organized for you to give you the benefits to the to the highest of level. Few things that I would want you to keep in mind before I start, because I believe many of you have your first session with me. So there are few things that I want you to keep in mind before you start with today's class and before you start with other classes. I want you to have your study material handy with you, because I refer to the study material a lot. I will be strictly sticking to the study material. I will not be touching any topic which is outside the study material. So I want you to have your study material handy so that you know the sequence of the topics that we are covering, and you also know what all topics have been covered, right? And so it will make it easier for you when you are revising and when you are practicing on your own. So the study material is first thing that I want you all to have it with you. Then I want you to have a pen and paper. There might be few things and few examples, although these sessions are there on the YouTube as well for your reference later. But I always believe that it's good to make notes while the class is going on. The notes that you make by yourself, that will help you the most, right? You will remember what you have written and you will actually go back to it. You might not feel like going back to the whole video again and then listening to the entire lecture again. So I suggest you to keep making notes side by side. Any example that you feel is good and you that would help you to remember the concept later on, please write it down, right? Third, the query list. I always keep a very close tab on the query list. You have any doubt, please send it to me. You want me to repeat something, please send it to me. But please, it's my request to you, do not send me queries or anything, any doubts that is not related to what I am teaching right now, because I won't be able to take up that, right? And I will be doing a lot of practice session during the entire lecture. And right. So I will be doing a lot of practice sessions, and mostly, and in my previous sessions, also students used to keep sending me responses, and we used to keep a tab on quickly who's responding and who's not responding, and it's a very good exercise. You also check self-evaluate yourself that how much you have learned during the entire session, what is clear to you and what is not clear to you. So after the self-evaluation exercises, if you feel that there is some topic that you want me to explain it again, believe me, I will try to explain it again if the time allows me. As you know, this chapter is quite big, and I've already divided into these three sessions. So I will try to get back to your doubts, maybe in the same session or maybe in the next session. Definitely, I will try. All right. So shall we start? Yes, you can send me okay if you're good to go. And then we'll begin with the topic. Okay, somebody just said that there's some noise in the background. Okay, let me just check. Okay, I hope the now you cannot hear any noise. Everything is okay now. Okay, I mean, even before I've started, there are some queries already. Okay, somebody has asked me how many marks are allotted to this chapter. Pranjali, I believe it's a 7 or 8 marks chapter. And good that you have asked me this question, because again, coming back to the preface of my lectures, the topics that I'm going to teach you, please do not listen to me or understand the things from the perspective of exams. No, the whole idea of introduction, or to introduce this subject, business correspondence and reporting, is to prepare you for the language and prepare you for your later stages of your life. It is not it is not going to limit yourself till the exam, that you just have to pass a 40 marks exam. No, language always helps you, right? The having a knowledge and having a good command over language will take you a very long way. If you have good communication skills, that can actually take you and that can make your work easy. And communication not only helps you professionally, it also helps you personally, right? So the whole idea of idea behind the introduction of this topic was to make you guys good with the language so that you can practice and excel as far as the language is concerned, right? So I again suggest you that please do not listen to me just for the exams. Gajendra, I'm sorry, I cannot teach you in Hindi, unfortunately, because I'm teaching English. But yes, I will try to go a little slow, right? So that you understand, right? And notes, somebody asked me about the notes. Yes, the PPT has already been uploaded on the your students portal. So you can go and download that, right? The same PPT that I will be showing, that I'll be sharing right now. Okay. All right, let's start before wasting time. Somebody is asking about the accent. Uh, I don't know. Accent is just natural. Accents are usually natural, right? So the more you read, the more you listen to people, I mean, that is how you develop an accent, right? So let's begin. Okay, I think there's some background noise still. Hang on, just give me a second. Yeah, I hope the noise problem is being sorted. Now there is no problem, right? There's no noise. All right, let's start. I will be sharing my PPT first, and then while I'm explaining the topics, I will be sharing my whiteboard with you. All right, as you know, we're going to start with chapter number 2, sentence types, active, passive, and direct, indirect speech. I think speech is missing, so I'm so sorry. Right. So this topic is basically going to introduce you with the major concepts of grammar, right? Now, why grammar? Why are we even studying grammar when we are preparing to be a CA, right? We are studying about grammar to build your communication skills. The first chapter of this entire course was communication. You've already attended those lectures and you've already gone through that chapter. Now, to communicate with somebody effectively, and you to be able to convey what you're trying to say, you need to have a good command over language, right? By language, I would say any language, be it be Hindi, be it be any regional language of India, be it be English, be it be French, be it be Spanish, any language that you come across, you need to have a command over to have an effective communication, right? Now, why are we only studying English here? We're not studying any other language here. Why we are not studying Hindi here? Because English is the global language, right? English connects you with the world, right? So this is why we emphasize on English, right? And it's not even about global. I feel within the country also, this is one language that connects with so many people across the states. For example, if I go to Chennai, I don't know their regional language and they don't know Hindi, right? Now, what will connect us? How can I communicate with them? Maybe they know English and I know English, and then that is how we can talk, right? And we can have a conversation and we can discuss things and we can have business together, right? So this is why English. Now, to understand a language, we need to have knowledge about grammar, right? Grammar is one thing that sets the rules of any language, right? In your schools also, whenever you were studying any language, you used to have a different book and a different section of grammar. Yes, because without the knowledge of grammar, you cannot have a knowledge of a subject or the language. Am I clear? Yes. When I ask you, am I clear? You can always send me, okay, yes, clear, something in the query box so that I know that you guys are moving along with me. Right? Okay. Now, before I begin with the core grammar concepts, let's look at these some concepts. These concepts are not really important from the perspective of the exam, or maybe uh, you know that is not going to be like, how do I say it? It is not primarily from the perspective, or this is only for the knowledge, I would say. Yes. So this is for your knowledge, that how, there are different segments to the language, and how all of these concepts together builds, constructs the language, right? So our first concept is about linguistics. These are few terminologies that you should know for your knowledge, right? Linguistics is study of language and its structure. So there's this whole course of linguistics. If I don't know if you are aware of this or not, people who are studying language, they do their masters and their PhDs into linguistics also. They have this interest and they want to get into the deep knowledge of the language and the structures, and there's a lot of technical things involved. So there's a whole new kind of a study, and people do that. Grammar, I've already told you, it's a study of how a language is constructed. It is about the governing rules, right? Syntax. Syntax is a study of arrangement of words, right? So the concept of to study about how this word is arranged and what is a word order, it is called syntax. Morphology is the study of internal construction of words. Now, what do you mean by internal construction of words? So when you add a prefix and suffix to any word, right? For example, decisive and indecisive, right? So I add the word in, and how the entire thing, it forms another word altogether, right? There are two different words. Just because I added a prefix to a particular word, it became another word altogether, which has a different meaning, right? Semantics deals with the meanings, right? Now, how do you actually define that this word would mean this? There is a whole study around it. Phonology is the study of speech and sound. Phonology is the basic, right? When we are learning any language and we start to learn about the letters, and, slowly and steadily, we learn about the sounds. So that is actually the base of any language. Pragmatics is the study of the use of natural language in communication, right? Now, what do you mean by natural language? Language is an evolving process. It is not something that was just made, at a particular time frame and we're just studying about it. Language evolves every day because of the natural language also, right? And what is natural language? Before we have any formal education, we come into the introduction of language already. As soon as a baby is born, the baby is introduced with the language, right? So the whole process of learning the language naturally, how you build in your entire human life, that is called pragmatics, right? Having said that, just to end these about these concepts, I would just like to summarize that, like I just said, and learning a language is also not a one day process. You learn it every day. You get a command over language, or you learn something good about the language, or you get fluent with it, and you start communicating effectively. It's a everyday process. The more you practice, the better you will become, right? Nobody can make you perfect in one day. So, whatever you learn today and whatever you are learning during these sessions, I will recommend you that you practice them, right? Whatever teachers are teaching you, whatever I am teaching you, go back, try to try to apply it to your everyday life. That is how you will become used to of the language, and that is how you'll become fluent and better. You'll stop making errors, grammatical errors, and when you're writing, probably the spelling errors. So these things will change, right? Okay. Now this is one slide that I always add, because this slide is for those people, those students who might not be aware with these, few basic concepts of English grammar, right? So I'll just quickly take you through, so that when I am teaching you other concepts, you are not confused with what is a verb, what is a noun, what is an adverb, and you keep thinking, right? And then you will get confused, and then the other concepts, everything will go waste, right? So let me just quickly take you through. There are 8 parts of speech in a language, right? When there is a sentence, or when you are speaking, so every speech has 8 parts, right? Verb is an action words. Simple. I'll just give you a simple, definitions. Verb is an action word, like, run, jump, read, or you are talking about a state of being, was, like, is, right? Noun is a naming word, right? Name of a person, name of a thing, name of an animal, name of a country, place, name of a person. That these are all called nouns, right? Adverbs. Adverbs actually tell you about the actions, right? It tells you about when the action is occurred and how the action was occurred. So basically, adverb defines verb a little more, right? They modify verbs, right? They tell you, give you some more information about verbs. Adjectives tells you about nouns. Adjectives are also called describing words, because they describe about adjectives. Pronouns. Now, pronouns are used to replace nouns. Like, for example, if I want to refer myself, I'm using I for myself, right? If I want to refer a boy next to me, I will say he, right? So these are called pronouns. Sorry, before that, adjective. Adjective is beautiful, hard, soft, cute. So these are all adjectives, when whatever words you use to describe nouns. Preposition actually builds the relationship between the words or nouns here, right? The cat is on the table, right? So there are 2 nouns in a sentence, the cat and the table, right? So preposition basically builds the relationship. What is the relationship between 2 nouns in a sentence, right? So you words like on, over, for, besides, in, at, these are all prepositions. Conjunctions are the words that joins the words or phrases together, right? Nothing to worry if you do not know few words here, like phrases here, because we will be devoting a lot of time to understand what phrases are. So don't worry, I will be teaching you about that. But right now, just understand the conjunctions are the joining words. They join, group of words together. Interjections actually tells you about a word of surprise. Wow. Oh, alas. Oh my God. So these are all interjections when they tell you something about excitement, right? Are we clear till here? Yes. Yes. I am waiting for your responses if you guys are clear. All right. So let's begin with this chapter. Now, this chapter, let's start with the components of a sentence, right? And we will start with the basic component of a sentence first. I'm just looking at a query box if there is any query. Okay, great. So good so far. Now let's start with the first topic, which is phrases. Now, what are phrases? Phrases is basically a group of words uh, that come together but does not complete the sense, right? The group of words that are there, but when you read them, it does not complete the meaning, right? Those words are not enough to convey the entire meaning. Now, for example, if I write down on the wall, right? Now, on the wall, do you think on the wall is completing the meaning? What do you understand if I just write on the wall? You might question me, ma'am, what is on the wall? What are you talking about? Who is there? Right? So you might have a number of questions when I just give you a simple words on the wall. Right? What if I say over the horizon? Right? What do you mean by that? If I say in the water, all of these are phrases because they're group of words, right? But they do not complete the meaning. There is no sense to it, right? These group of words cannot stand alone. They need something to complete the meaning. Am I clear? Yes. So, in a simple definition, a group of words is words that does not make sense. That makes sense, but not complete sense. Right? On the wall makes sense. Yes, but not complete sense. So, if I tell someone just on the wall, they will not understand. They will keep wondering, what am I talking about? Am I clear? Yes. Right? So, in phrases, oh, if you've noticed in these words, is there a verb here? Is there any verb here? Do we know about what action is being taken place here? Right? Do we have a verb here? Tell me. No, we don't have a verb here. Right? Do we know about whom we are talking? Meaning, do we know what is the subject in this sentence? Right? Do we know about whom we are talking? No. Right? So when there is no verb and when there is no subject, right, that those group of words become phrase. Right? Clear? Clear? I mean, is it clear till here? Yes. All right. So now this is about phrases. Now let's understand about other type of phrases. Right? There are about 4 types of phrases. So I will be just taking you one by one. What are these 4 types of phrases? Yes. Okay. The bewildered tourist was lost. Okay. Now, to make your work little easy, I will tell you about this is a sentence, right? But we are not talking about a sentence here. We are not looking at the entire group of words here. I want you to focus here, right? Now, forget I have given you this sentence. Forget about this completely, right? If I would have just given you this, right? If I've just given you this bewildered tourist, right? Now, what would have this made sense, right? This makes sense that we are talking about some tourist here, but what about the tourist? We don't know, right? So this becomes a phrase here, right? Now, this is a phrase because these two words make a little sense that I am explaining something about the tourist, but what why I am talking about this, what is the context of talking, you don't know, right? So bewildered tourist becomes the phrase, right? Now, tourist as a word is a noun here, right? And there is a word that is telling you something about the noun, that is bewildered, right? So whenever there is a word that is explaining us about the noun, that together becomes noun phrase, right? Any word that is explaining about the noun together is counted as the noun phrase. Okay? Yes? Right? Let's take one more example. Lost puppy. If I would give you these two words, lost puppy, right? So tell me the noun here, lost or a puppy? Out of these two words, which is the noun? Tejas, you've asked me, should both the conditions be satisfied to be known as phrase or anyone? Yes, if you're talking about the subject and the verb thing, yes. Uh, if the subject and verb both are missing, you just don't know what is happening in the sentence, those group of words, you will call it a phrase, right? Vinayak, I am not talking about bewildered tourist here. I did not add the here because I'm explaining about the phrase here. Yes, puppy is a noun here, right? And lost is telling us something about the verb, right? No, it is not a verb phrase. It becomes a noun phrase again because the lost word is explaining us about the puppy and puppy is a noun, right? So just understand in a simple definition, whenever there is one word or two words that is explaining about the noun, right? And they are standalone, there is nothing else, there's no verb in a sentence, nothing else you know about it, it becomes a noun phrase, right? Now, similarly, next comes the verb phrase. Verb phrase is basically the main verb, main verb that is preceded by the helping verb, right? Now, if I give you a sentence, we have been working since 9 a.m. If I tell you we have been working since 9 a.m., right? And if I ask you, tell me a verb phrase here. Now, verb phrase is very easy to find out. To find, verb phrase simply means the main verb. Main verb is working here, and the helping verbs, the verbs that come along with the main verb, have been working. Right? Verb phrase is the most easy thing to find in a sentence. Right? But if I just give you have been working together. Now, in a have been working, right? These are the verbs. Agreed, right? But you don't know about whose action we are talking about. We have no subject here, right? We don't know what are we talking about here, right? So this becomes the verb phrase because these are group of words that are making sense but not complete sense. We don't know whom we are talking about. Am I clear? Yes. Are we clear about the noun phrase and the verb phrase? Noun phrase is the phrase which has one or two words along with the noun, right? Now, verb phrase is a phrase in which we have the main verb along with the helping verbs. right? Now, next comes the prepositional phrase. Now, again, very easy. I mean, I don't want to waste too much of time on this. In preposition phrase, we have a preposition, of course, like for example, about, in, at, any preposition. Uh, and there is another word with it, which is kind of an object of a sentence. I mean, I'm using a lot of terminologies, but I will explain you, and then everything will make sense to you. As we move ahead, I will be explaining you the other things. All right. Now, in prepositional phrase, about, for example, I say about money in the bag, right? At home. Okay. Now these words have a preposition, about, in, and at, right? There are more words. There are nouns attached to it: money, the bag, and home, right? Now, these again group of words make sense, but not complete sense. All you have to look for is in preposition for a phrase, you have to find a preposition. In the verb phrase, you will find a verb. And in the noun phrase, you will find noun as the focus. In the prepositional phrase, it starts from a preposition. Clear? Yes. So about money, in the bag, at home. Now, again, these phrases, of course, make sense, but not complete sense. Now, last is adjective phrase. Needless to say, in adjective phrase, you will find the adjectives. All right. It was a very big meal. Like if I say a very big meal, a very big meal, right? Really bored. Yes. So these are all adjective phrases. Am I clear? Now this has two adjectives. There's another adjective here. So whenever there's an adjective with a noun, or maybe just two or three adjectives together, that is called an adjective phrase. Clear? So good so far? Yes. Yes. Are we clear about the phrases and the types of phrases? Right? Now, very quick exercise within a minute. I want you to give me example of a noun phrase, verb phrase, adjective phrase, preposition phrase. Quickly, in your query box right now, give me examples of noun phrase, verb phrase, adjective phrase, and preposition phrase. Remember, in a noun phrase, you have a noun and a word or two words explaining about that noun. In a verb phrase, there are just main verb and helping verbs. Adjectives could be two or three adjectives together with a noun maybe. And then prepositions, you that starts with a preposition and has a noun along with it. Quick. Shraddha, yes, in lost puppy, lost is the adjective, but that lost is explaining us about the noun, which is why we call it a noun phrase. An adjective phrase, the emphasis on is on the two, three adjectives together at least. Very big, really bored. So these are the adjectives. Bored is an adjective. Really is telling us more about the adjective here. Beautiful dress is a noun phrase. Yes, Tejas. Teja, sorry. Teja. Teja S. I said really is telling us about the board. Board is an adjective here. Pranjali, I hope I've made myself clear. Really is an intensifier actually, because it is explaining about the adjective a little more. Kanishka, I am glad that you have sent me the response. Your preposition is correct in Kolkata. Verb is in verb. Geeta is dancing is not the verb phrase. Is dancing is the verb phrase. I'm sorry, I lost you. Yes, and in the noun, the strange is not a noun phrase. I would say maybe a strange bag, a strange boy, a strange girl. This could be a noun phrase. Shraddha, very good. Very, very good. I'm in third. I'll just correct myself and correct you as well. In adjective phrase, you only pick the adjectives, two or three. So really pretty is the adjective phrase here, not the dress. At the hospital, rest all are correct. Great. Shobit, at the door is a prepositional phrase. Very good. Uh, I am doing work. So I am doing is the verb phrase. Fast and furious is adjective phrase. That's what you're saying, right? Uh, guys, you some of you have given me the entire sentences. I don't want the sentences. I want the phrases here. Okay, there's some confusion. Aparna, I'll just correct. I will explain it again. All right. So right. So I've got a lot of responses. It's very difficult for me to go through all and answer. So what I'll do is after the session, I'll download the Excel sheet. I will send my responses, upload it back again, and then you can download it and see the whatever is correct and whatever is wrong, whatever I make the corrections for. Right. Yes, there is some a little confusion here. In a simplest form, when I was explaining about the phrases here, yes, whenever there are words that, let's make it more simple. In phrases, phrases cannot stand alone, right? Whether it's a noun phrase, whether it's a verb phrase, whether it's adjective phrase, whether it's a prepositional phrase, they cannot stand alone, right? That's what I meant. And either the subject would be missing or the verb would be missing or the further explanation to it would be missing, right? So in the verb phrase, when you're using a verb phrase, you don't know the subject here, right? In rest of the other, the phrases, you don't know the subject and you don't know the verb. In terms of only verb phrase, you have a verb, but you do not know about anything else, right? But when we are talking about the noun phrase, adjective phrase, and the prepositional phrase, you are not aware about the subject. You are not aware. There is no verb there. right? Right? So you don't know what action is being taken place. If there will be a verb with an adjective or preposition, things might start making sense a little, right? Now, quickly moving on to the clauses part. Now, a clause is a group of words, right, that makes complete sense. Unlike phrases, they make complete sense, right? Now, if I say, I'm picking very simple sentences so that everybody understands. So do not think that these are such basic sentences, but I am just picking these sentences so that everybody understands, right? The cat is on the table, right? Right? So, no, wait. Okay, the cat is sitting on the table. Now, this is a clause, right? Clause is can be taken it as a sentence also, as a complete sentence also, because clause completes the meaning in itself, right? So you can consider this as a this is a independent clause, so you can call it a sentence also, right? Independent clause. By independent clause, I mean that this clause can stand alone, right? This clause doesn't need anything else. You might provide with more information if you want, but these words are complete in itself, right? So this is a clause, right? And this is an independent clause. Am I clear? Yes. Right. Now, how do we define this complete in meaning? Right. Please listen to me very carefully, right? I will be introducing few concepts here and few topic, the how you say, yes, the few concepts and some terminologies here. Now, the cat is a subject here. Now, what is a subject? Subject is the is something that we are talking about, right? The main focus of a sentence. So the main focus of the sentence is the cat here, right? This is a subject here, right? Of course, you know that we have verb here, which is sitting on the table, and we have rest of the information about the cat also, that is on the table, right? Right? Am I clear? Yes. So in a clause, we have a subject and we have a verb, right? And then we have some more information to it. Now, that's some more information, and that verb together becomes predicate. Okay. Yes. So subject plus predicate makes together a clause and also a complete sense and also a sentence. Am I clear? So good so far? Yes. Clauses are not very difficult to understand, right? So one independent clause or one independent sentence has a subject and a predicate. Now, what is subject? Subject is about whom we are talking, right? Who's the focus, and predicate is basically the information about the subject is sitting on the table. Am I clear? Yes. Yes. Anything else that you want me to explain again to you? Right? Okay. Now let's understand that there are two types of clauses, right? The basic thing here, main clause, which is also the independent clause, right? Then there is subordinate / dependent clause. Okay, right? So there are two types of clauses here. The main and independent clause can survive together, can stand alone. It provides the entire information, right? But in terms of when we talk about the dependent clause, now what lacks in a dependent clause? In a dependent clause, there is a subject, there is a predicate, right? But it does not complete the meaning in its own, right? The subordinate clause needs another clause to complete the entire meaning, right? Right. I know it might sound a little confusing that a subject predicate is here to how it becomes a subordinate thing, right? So you will understand what I'm trying to say here as I give you the examples. Okay. Look at the example here. Michael bought a new computer, right? Michael bought a new computer, right? Is it complete in its meaning? Yes. Yes. Should this this is a main clause here, right? Okay. Now, if I add some more information to it, but he still has the old one. Okay, now this is a complete sentence. Michael bought a new computer, but he still has the old one, right? This sentence has one main clause and one subordinate clause, right? If I remove Michael bought a new computer, if I just give you this, but he still has the old one, right? We have a slight idea about what we are talking about, but we do not know what it exactly means, right? So this becomes the dependent clause. Now, this dependent clause is dependent on the main clause to complete the meaning, right? When I said that both the clauses have subject and predicate, can you tell me in the main clause what is a subject and what is a predicate? Let's see how many of you have understood this. Let's see how many of you have understood the subject and predicate. Just tell me in this sentence, Michael bought a new computer. Tell me the subject and predicate in this one, in this clause. Okay, so Michael is the subject, rest is the predicate. Very good. Who's this one? Sweetie. Dechu, very good. Mr. K is good. Anushka, no. Michael is subject, right? But bought a new computer is the predicate. Perfect. Very well. So most of you have understood, right? So yes, Michael is the subject here and this is the predicate here, right? Now let's look at this. But he still has the old one. Can you find the subject and the predicate here? You have information enough for the subject and predicate. You know about whom we are talking and what are we talking about. So in the second one, do we have a subject and predicate? Okay. yes, he is the subject here and still has a predicate here, right? So now both are subject and predicate, but yes, Michael bought a new computer can stand alone, so it becomes a main clause. But he still has the old one is the subordinate clause because it does not complete the meaning. Reason being, it starts from but, right? Okay, let's look at one more example here. Although, sorry, although he still has his old one, Michael now has a new computer. Although he has his old one, Michael now has a new computer. Now, which is the main clause and which is a dependent clause here? I will answer to you if you already know the answer very good, very well. But I will just quickly tell you the answer because I want to finish this before I take a break at 3 o'clock. Michael now has a new computer is the main clause, right? And although he still has his old one is a dependent clause. Now, why I give you this sentence? I give you this sentence to tell you that dependent clause can come after, before, in middle, anywhere. It is not necessarily dependent clause comes the second part of the sentence or as the first part of the sentence. It can be any part of the sentence, right? Now, what makes it again dependent is these although here, right? So although, but these words are the subordinating conjunctions. I will explain you when we start again with the sentence structures based on the structures when we're discussing about the types of sentences. Am I clear? Yes. Okay. Now, again, just the way we had types of phrases, let's discuss about the types of clauses. Now, in types of clauses also, we have adverbial clause. Then we have adjective. And then we have a noun clause, right? Okay. Again, let me make it very simple for you. Of course, the clause that has something to do with adverbs will become that's something that starts with an adverb, right? It becomes the adverb clause. Noun clause has a noun in it, and adjective clause has adjectives to it, right? Now, all of them answer to a different question in a sentence. Whenever you want to find out if it is an adverb clause or an adjective clause or a noun clause, you ask different questions to yourself, right? In adverb, you ask questions like where, why, how, when, to what, and the degree, right? Now, let's look at the example here. After our trip to the mountains, I realized just how brave black bears can be. Now, now ask yourself, now tell me about the main clause here. Main clauses, I realized just how brave black bears can be, right? Now, this part, this dependent clause is answering to our question of when did I realize, right? So it tells me about when did I realize, and it starts from after, right? And this becomes the adverb clause. Am I clear? Yes. Adjective, on the other hand, answers to the question of which one or what kind, right? That will explain you, that will answer to the question of to this. Now, this phrase, this particular clause is explaining us about the bookstore here, right? It tells you about the location where it is based, bookstore. So this is giving you more information and more description about a bookstore. This is why this becomes the adjective clause, right? Okay. The last one is the noun clause. Noun clause, I don't think I have to explain you this, but noun clause tells you more about the noun only. It revolves around the description of a noun. For example, I say the Red Queen demanded to know who painted the roses red. Right. Okay. Now here, who painted the roses red becomes the noun clause. Am I clear? Because this clause is revolving around the uh, this is the second part of a sentence, and it tells you about the nouns here, right? Who painted the roses red? The Red Queen demanded to know who painted the roses red, right? So who painted the roses red, right? It has a meaning, but not the complete meaning, right? And who painted it? I was asking you a question: who painted the roses red, right? So this becomes the noun clause. Okay, and this is also functioning as a noun here, right? The Red Queen demanded to know. So who painted the red roses? This entire clause starts acting as a noun here, right? The together becomes a noun because this is what she wants to know, right? Am I clear? Yes. Are we clear till here? Are we clear about the clauses? Okay, let's have a very quick exercise on phrases and clauses. Okay, if you can see it on your screens, I'll just zoom it a little more. Identify phrase or clause. The first one is very simple, identify phrase and clause, and the other one is identify independent or dependent clause. Right. So I want you to quickly, I'll give you like 2 minutes and go through these questions and quickly write down your answers. For phrase and clause, you can use P or C. And for independent dependent clause, you can write for independent clause, you can write IC. And for dependent clause, you can write DC. The first one is quite easy, and I see most of you got it right. Yes, so the first one is a phrase, second is a clause, third is a phrase, fourth is a clause, fifth is a phrase. Mm, Prisha, Pranjali, Aksha, Teja, Atulya, Akanksha, Himani, all of you got it right. Okay, now quickly to the next question also. Okay, in the first one, James spoke as though he were a born orator. So James spoke is the main clause here. As though he were a born orator is a dependent clause. They felt that the farmer must be put to death. They felt, right, is a main clause here. That the farmer must be put to death is the dependent clause. When at last he returned to the village, the people told him that his mother had died. When at last he returned to the village is the dependent clause here. The people told rest is the independent clause here, main clause here. The first part is the dependent clause, the next part is the independent clause. The newspaper will tell us tomorrow what the world does today. So, till tomorrow will be the main clause, and what the world does today is the independent clause. The few books that were produced in the Middle Ages were written by hand. In this one, there is no independent clauses. To this entire is the one sentence only. There, you can't differentiate in the fifth one, which is the main clause and dependent clauses. It's just a plain sentence. How many of you have got that? All right. So let's take a 5 minutes break and then we will come back and then we'll start with the sentences. In the meantime, I will go through your responses. If there is any problem, you can write it to me. If everything is clear to me, you can just send me that everything is clear to you, right? So we'll take a 5 minutes break and I will join back at 3:10. All right, welcome back, everyone. Okay, just a piece of advice. I know this is quite confusing for you all because there's too much of noun phrase, adjective phrase, adverb phrase, and then there are clauses to it. So this could be confusing, but don't worry. The more you practice, the better it will become. So there is another PPT slide that is there in the PPTs that is for your practice only. I am not taking this up right now. Probably I can discuss the answers with you at the beginning of the next class, which is tomorrow, day after tomorrow, right? So at the beginning, I can discuss, that is slide number. The slides, the title is choose whether the highlighted part is in red is a is hello. Now it's fine. Okay. So in this PPT, if you can just see, choose whether the highlighted part in red is a phrase or a clause. So the red part is either a phrase or it is a clause, right? I want you to sit back, just go through this PPT, come up with an explanation. If it is a phrase, why do you think it is a phrase? If it is a clause, then why do you think it's a clause? Right? Okay. And we will be discussing the explanation part tomorrow. So probably that would make you easier. There are a lot of noun phrases, verb phrases, adjective phrase, and then there's adjective clause and adverb clause. Everything is there. It's a mix of everything, right? So whatever we know till now and whatever we have in our study material, just go back and do it as a homework. And at the beginning of the next class, I will be discussing the answers, and probably that will make the concept even more clear to you. Right now, I know it's going to be too much, no matter how much I explain it to you. Am I clear? Yes, right? Okay. Somebody just asked me, there was this one query that I would like to explain it again. If you could just look at your study material on the page number 2.4 that has the types of dependent clauses. Just take a different simple definition in your mind. Adjective clause acts as an adjective, noun clause, I already explained you, acts as a noun, and adverb clause acts as a adverb in a sentence. Now the entire sentence. The star performer at the concert chose dresses which would look good on her. Now, which would look good on her is the adjective clause here, right? It does not have a complete meaning. It cannot stand alone, like not a complete meaning in the sense that it can stand alone as a sentence, and it is explaining something about the dress and her, right? Like how she would feel about a dress, right? So this is the adjective, something that describes about the noun or the object in a sentence, right? And an adverb, when the food arrived, the children ate everything. Now we are talking about that when the food arrived, we are talking about some related to the time frame, right? When the food arrived, we're talking about the action and something more about the action. We are also talking about the timing here, right? So we have adverb here, which means this becomes the adverb clause here, right? Noun clause, that it will rain seems likely, that it will rain, right? We're talking about the rain here. Rain is the noun here, right? So this becomes the noun clause. I think your study material has very good explanation and it has examples also. After this lecture, if you actually go back and read everything together, things will be clear to you, much more and much better to you. Am I clear? Yes. Now let's quickly start with our sentence, which is the main part of the this chapter here. Now, what is a sentence? I've already told you, and I'm sure most of you already know that sentence is the group of words that makes the complete sense. That is a simple definition, right? And a sentence always starts with a capital letter right? Please understand this. It starts with a capital letter, okay? Ends with a punctuation. Now, not all punctuations, I mean, but a full stop, a question mark, an exclamatory mark, right? Okay. And uh, and also has a subject and a predicate for sure. Now, this is the basic components of a sentence. It has a subject and predicate. You know what subject and predicate is now. Capital letter. Please never make a mistake of starting a sentence with a small letter. No, it is completely wrong. That is I feel the entire basics of the language goes into vain if you start a sentence with a small letter, all right? A sentence always ends with a punctuation, so always use a correct punctuation. If it is a question, you use a question mark. If it is a normal sentence, you're just talking to somebody, there's a full stop, and exclamation in terms of when this you're talking about something exciting. Am I clear? Yes. A sentence can be sweet, it can be short, it can be long, it can be complicated. You've already seen the clauses. If you have a main clause and a dependent clause, and further, after just one or two more topics, you will see a sentence can be like really long. It can have two main clauses and one dependent clause. It can have two independent clauses. It can have one independent clause only. So a sentence can be as big as you want, it can be as short as you want. It depends on what you want to say and how you want to say, right? Now, there's a very good example here, but I will explain you one more example here. The baby slept. Okay, should the baby slept? Simple sentence, right? Now, if I say the baby, this is also a sentence, right? I can make it even more bigger. I can say the baby slept on the sofa comfortably, right? I can make it as big as I want, right? It was just a simple sentence, right? Rest of the information was not required, but if I want to give more information, I can give it. I can give as much of information I want, right? I can also say the sweet baby slept and whatever, right? So I can make the sentence as big as I want. I can keep adding whatever I want, right? Now let's start to understand with the basic components of the sentence. Now sentence has a subject and predicate that you already know. Yes, a subject in a sentence, like a sentence like this, the subject is baby, because we are talking about the baby. And what about the baby? What information do we have about the baby? Becomes the predicate, slept on the sofa, right? Yes, in this case, this is a subject and this is a predicate. All right, subject because we are talking about the subject, and predicate because this is the only information that we have, that the baby is sleeping or the baby has slept. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to come to the another components of the sentence, that is the direct object, and then we have indirect object. In a sentence, we have a direct object and then we have an indirect object, right? Okay. Now, in the direct object, what do you mean by direct object? Now, direct object is the object that is taking the, that is the receiver of the action, right? we know on whom the action has been taken place, right? For example, the simple sentence, Ram kicked the ball, right? We know the subject, who's Ram. We know what action has been taken place, that is kicked, right? But who took that action? On whom that action was performed, that is the ball. So that ball becomes the direct object here. Am I clear? Yes. Yes. So that is the direct object here that we have. Uh, if I ask you this, Mary wrote a book. Mary wrote a book, right? So now we know who is performing the action, who is the subject here, Mary. What action is being taken place is wrote, and on whom the action is being performed, who is taking that action, that is the book, right? Now, another way of understanding the finding the direct object in a sentence is if you ask yourself a question, what, right? What did Mary write? A book, right? So whenever a sentence can answer to the question of what, that is a direct object. Am I clear? Yes. Am I clear, everyone? Yes. Okay. Now, if I ask you another thing, now comes the indirect object. Now, what is the indirect object? If I say, I made Neha pasta for lunch. I made Neha pasta for lunch, right? So now I is the subject here, made is the verb here, right? What did you make? You made pasta for lunch. But for whom did you make, right? Who is receiving that object also, right? That is Neha here, right? So whenever a sentence asks us to the question of for whom, or the simple answer to the whom, that is the indirect object. Clear? Any problems that you have till now? Yes. Are we clear with direct subject and predicate and direct and indirect object? Meet, you've been asking me constantly one question again and again. I've already answered to that question. And besides this, I think you are missing on to the rest of the things that we are doing. I'll come back to your question. Don't worry, towards the end of the lecture. Okay, are we clear till here? Direct and indirect object and okay. If I give you the sentence, the gardener pulled the weeds. Okay, very well. So the gardener pulled the weeds. Now, who is the subject in this sentence? The gardener, right? What action is being taken place here? Pulled, right? And what did the gardener do? What did the gardener pull? What? The answer to the what is what in the sentence? The answer to the what is the weeds, right? So the weeds is the direct object. Direct object. Now, please understand that direct object means that this object is directly taking the receiving the action, right? There is nothing else in between. Simple. You know the subject, you know the verb, and you know on whom the action is being performed here. Am I clear? Yes. Okay. Okay, let's look at this sentence here. The librarian showed Kelly the newest book in her favorite series. Okay. Now, this sentence has a direct object and this also has the indirect. The library showed Kelly the newest book in her favorite series, right? Now, who is performing this action? Who is the subject here? Librarian. Okay. Now, what is the action being taken place? That is show, right? Now, what did this librarian showed to Kelly, right? The newest book series, right? The newest book series, this entire becomes a direct object here. Okay, but if I ask you, whom did the librarian show the newest book in her favorite series? Whom? The answer to the whom is Kelly here, right? And this becomes the indirect object. Clear? I hope this should be clear to you now. Yes? Okay. If it is clear to you, please tell me if it's clear to you, that it is clear. Okay. There is a small exercise in front of you guys. I give you 1 minute. Please quickly go through this and then we will be discussing the subject, direct, and indirect object here. Quickly answer to this question. You have to read every sentence and you have to tell me the subject, direct, and indirect object in the sentence. Or let's make it very quick. Just tell me the highlighted words, the words that are highlighted. If it is a subject, if it is a direct, indirect object, what is it? She sent her friend an email. Sally will help you with your housework. Where did you put the keys? He gave, he gave them a bag full of money. Alice wrote a book on the French Revolution. I need your help. Okay, she sent her friend an email. Now, her friend, is it a direct object or clearly it is not a subject? So it's direct object or indirect object. Whom did she send an email? Now, her friend is answering to the question whom here, which makes it an indirect object. She will help you with your housework. Sally will help you with your housework. Sally will help you with your housework. Now, you is a direct or indirect object. You again is an indirect object here. Where did you put the keys? Now, in interrogative questions, whenever there's a question, it becomes a little tricky. Do not consider where, did, what as the subject, right? Subject can come after the verb and the question word also. So, you basically is the subject here because you is the one who performed the action, right? Where did you put the keys? Now, the putting the keys away has been done by you here. So you is a subject here, not the direct or object or indirect object here. He gave them a bag full of money. Now them is again a indirect object here. Alice wrote a book on the French Revolution. Alice becomes the subject here. I need your help. Your help is the direct object here, right? I hope direct and indirect speech is direct and indirect object is clear to you, right? Next, let's quickly look at the object of the preposition here. Now, object of the preposition is whenever there is the object which starts from the preposition, right? Like at the table, right? Now, table is the object, but it starts from at, so it becomes the object of preposition. Am I clear? Yes, yes. Okay, if I give you these phrases, complete the sentence for me. You are going to. You are going to. So whatever you fill up here, right? You are going to school, you are going to home, you are going to Delhi, you are going to whatever you fill up here after the preposition, this becomes the object of the preposition, right? Because it is follow this is the object is being followed after the to, right? After there's a preposition here and then there is something next to it. So whenever there is an object after the preposition, that becomes the object of preposition. Take another example. The cat is over, right? Over is a preposition, right? Now whatever you fill up here becomes the object of preposition. Am I clear? Yes, just the way you have direct object and indirect object, you have another form that is object of the preposition, right? Okay. Don't confuse yourself in these topics. These topics are only for your knowledge, so that when you start framing the sentences and when you start doing your writing skills, these small things actually help you, right? Okay. This actually tells you about the placing of the words here, right? This tells you about the understanding of the sentence structures here. Like, for example, direct and indirect object, right? Now, what is direct object? Direct object is about the focus, about, the object that we need to focus on, right? But then indirect object also tells you a little more in the sentence, right? A little more about the direct object, maybe, right? So when you are understanding a sentence, these small components will actually help you in your understanding, in your comprehension, in decoding what the sentence is trying to tell you, right? What to focus, what not to focus, what is the main information and what is the side information for you. Am I clear? Yes. So the object, I hope the object of preposition is clear. There is one topic that is given on the page number 2.7, which is quite important. How can you distinguish between an indirect object and the object of the preposition? Right? There might be a chance when you confuse the object of preposition with the indirect object. Indirect object does not come immediately after a preposition. Object of preposition comes after the preposition. So this is the difference here. Indirect object is usually followed by the direct object, whereas the object of preposition does not follow this principle. So the object of preposition can come anywhere, right? But the indirect object is usually followed by the usually. It's not every time. Please understand, not every time, but usually it is followed by the direct object. Am I clear? Yes. Yes. Okay. Then after the object section, we will quickly come down to the verbs. Very, 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 very important for a sentence. As you know, if there is no verb, there cannot be a sentence, right? It is a mere, it becomes a mere phrase, right? That does not have a complete meaning, right? So without verb, if we don't know what is happening, a sentence cannot be complete. The meaning cannot be complete without an action verb, right? Because it tells you about the action, it tells you about the occurrence, it also indicates the state of being, it also tells you how somebody is feeling right now, right? That is also a verb. So what is a situation that so basically this is the backbone of a sentence. Okay, now again, there are types of verbs. Let's just quickly go through them. They're not very, very, very difficult to understand. So let's just very quickly understand. Now, the first is the finite verbs. Okay. Now, finite verbs are those verbs that usually changes their forms according to the number or the number or the people or the tense of a sentence. Am I clear? That changes its form again and again, right? So finite verb, again, she dances, she danced. Okay, it changed its form according to the tense here, right? According to the number, they they dance. Okay, she dances will become they dance when we are talking about many people, right? This is a subject verb agreement. We will be discussing this after we have discussed the sentences, that how subject and verb has to agree with each other and how the verbs change their forms. So but for now, this is this. So she dances becomes she danced when we are talking from the present tense to past tense. Then they dance when we're talking about the when we're talking about many people here, right? Am I clear? So this is called the finite verbs. Next is the non-finite verbs. Now, non-finite verbs do not change their forms, irrespective of the number, irrespective of the tenses, irrespective of anything. They don't change the form, right? And further non-finite verbs have three types. Okay. As you will see the types of non-finite verbs, you will understand what we're trying to say here, why they don't change the form, right? If I say, Ria likes to cook. Okay. Yes. So this is the in the okay. Ria likes to cook, and if I say they like to cook. So non-finite verbs, basically, they talk about some action, right? They have a base form, and just before the base form, they use two plus base form of the verb. And this particular form of verbs, they don't change their form according to the number. Like you see, Ria is a singular person and they is the plural people here. Like we are talking about many people here, right? The main verbs changed in the form, but not this one, not the action words. All right. To cook remains the same when I'm using to cook here, right? Similarly, we have the participle form. The participle form is the verb when the verbs ends with ing or present participle that ends with ing and the past participle form of verb that has ed or maybe the past form of the verb. Again, they don't change their forms, right? If I say, she broke the chair. Okay. And if I say, they broke the chair. Okay. She broke the chair. They broke the chair. Now, this is the past participle form of break, right? Right. Now, broke word doesn't change according to the number of people, right? If we are talking, this will remain the same, right? Okay. Another example here with the ing form. We saw some children dancing on a famous song, right? Now, here again, if you see dancing, dancing is a present participle form of dance using ing in the end. Again, this does not change the form, however you use it in a sentence, right? So there's some words that never change their forms. Next comes the gerunds. Now, gerunds also ends with ing, but they act as nouns. Okay. In the other forms, we were using them as verbs here, right? But in gerunds, we use these action words with ing as a noun, right? Like running is fun. Running is fun. Okay. I love swimming. Here, running and swimming is being used as noun, right? Because these words are actually telling you about some activity or some kind of, a hobby here, right? So these words are used as the noun here. And again, they do not change their forms. However, you use them, wherever you use them in a sentence. Am I clear? Yes. Any problem so far? All right. Now, the next form of verbs, again, auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are those verbs that they join the main verbs, right? They are called helping verbs, and they join the other verb as per the tenses, yes, as per their forms, right? Not, I mean, you cannot just join auxiliary verb wherever you want. You use helping verbs or auxiliary verbs according to the tense forms whenever the sentences change according to tenses, as per the passive forms or maybe the questions and the negatives. So it depends on the sentence structures, right? But what are auxiliary form verbs? Auxiliary verbs are is, am, are, has, have, was, were, does, do, and did, right? So for an example, she is traveling from Mumbai. She is traveling from Mumbai. So here the main verb is traveling And is here as auxiliary verb. And which tense have I used here? This is present continuous tense. So the traveling word, basically the ing form of verb, cannot be used alone. So we have to use the helping verb here. Now this helping verb is used as per the number of the subjects here, right? It's she, so we have used is. If there would have been they, we would have used are. They are traveling, right? Am I clear? Yes. Okay. This was about the auxiliary verbs. Next comes the modals. Now, modals is basically they tell you about the permission, possibilities, certainty, necessity, right? These are those verbs that express the mood or, however the situation is. And when you are basically seeking for permission or you're talking about the possibilities or certainty and necessity, right? If I say, I can drive a car, you're using the verb can here, and you're talking about that you can do something. You're talking about the ability here, all right? You may come in. When I say you may come in, when I use the word may, that means I am giving permission to somebody to come in, right? If I say the doctor can see you now, that means I am talking about that there is a possibility the doctor can see you now, right? So the words like can, may, must, should, will, shall, these are all modal verbs, and they are used as per whenever we want to express permission, possibility, certainty, and necessity. Last is transitive and intransitive verbs. Now, transitive verb, what do you mean by intransitive and transitive verbs? Transitive verbs are those verbs that need an object to complete their meaning. Okay, what does that mean? Look at this word, carry, love, buy. Okay, there are three verbs in front of you, carry, love, buy. Okay, I am going to add just one word ahead of them. Okay, they carry, she loves, I buy. Do you think this is enough to complete the meaning? They carry. No, I think that you need something here. They carry a bag, right? They carry books, anything, right? So the verbs that need objects here to complete the meaning are called transitive verbs, right? She loves. Whom does she love? What is she talking about, right? To whom is she expressing her love? So you need something here. She loves to read, right? She loves to dance. So something needs to be there to complete the meaning. I buy. I buy what? Right? So these are all transitive verbs. And on contrary, intransitive verbs are those verbs that they don't require objects, no objects. They are complete in their meaning. For example, laughed. I laughed. I think it's complete in itself. I don't need to give you more information. I laughed. Uh, the baby cried. Right? We don't need more information. I know. Right? Arrive. They arrive. Right? So these are those words that I don't primarily need objects to complete their meaning. Clear? But yes, there are few exceptions. There are few words like eat, read, understand. These can be used as transitive, intransitive, both forms, in both ways. Okay. Just before I quickly switch and finish today's topics, I want you to quickly, oh, everything is there in the PPT, by the way, so you can download the PPT. All the information is there, whatever has been discussed today. I want you to quickly look at this exercise, finite and non-finite verbs and transitive and intransitive verbs. So you have to quickly tell me if does is a finite verb or a non-finite, or in the next one, you need to tell me the transitive and intransitive verbs. Quickly. And I hope these topics were clear to you. Yes, definitely. Verbs only play a very important role in tenses. Akash, they are not like helping verbs. Auxiliary verbs are helping verbs. Transitive verbs are those verbs who require object. They do not complete the meaning. If I say, uh, I I kicked. What did I kick? Right? So that does not complete the meaning. I need to have something that supports kicked, right? I kicked a ball, right? A ball is an object here, which makes kicked a transitive verb, right? And in case of intransitive verb, you don't need any verb. So if I say, uh, I, I laughed, it's complete. I don't need to give you more information. Finite and non-finite, finite verbs, they change their form according to the number of the subject or the tenses. Non-finite verbs, they don't change their forms. So usually the verbs that end with ing and ed, or maybe the past form of any verb, they don't change their meaning. That's it's just to simplify the concept. Okay, forget about the names. If I just tell you in a very layman language, the verbs that end with ing or ed, or is the past form of any verb, they don't really change their form, so they automatically becomes non-finite verbs. Me, Dodia, yes, it is. Okay, let's quickly do it. Nancy does her homework every day. Does is a finite verb because it changes the form. If instead of Nancy, there are more people, we will does will become do. Nancy is doing her homework at the moment. It's a non-finite. Doing will not change the form, even if the tense change, even if the number change. If the tense change, Nancy was doing her homework. Doing will not change. So doing automatically becomes non-finite. They are writing a letter. Are is a finite verb. Are will change the form. Are will become is if it is singular. Are will become were if it would is a past tense. If it was a past tense sentence. It is healthy to laugh at problems. To laugh is the non-finite because this will again not change the form. And this is also the infinitive form of verbs. Finding the gates widely open, the thief went inside. Finding is again the non-finite. He had his car cleaned. Cleaned is again the non-finite. It will not change unless, as per the numbers. Okay, transitive and intransitive verb. She was crying all day. Somebody just asked me some question related to this. She was crying all day long is the intransitive verb because she was crying was enough. Like voice crying is enough. All day long is just an extra information. We showed her the photo album. Showed is the transitive verb. You need to have an object to complete the meaning. It was raining at that time, right? It was raining. Now, when I say was raining, again, this is the intransitive. It was raining was enough to explain the meaning. At that time was not required. They slept in the street, on the street. Again, this is the intransitive verb. She gave a cookie to the child. Gave is the transitive verb because she gave is not enough. You need to have an object. Okay, so yeah, so this was it for today. So we have finished till everything about sentences. And to in my lecture day after tomorrow, I will be starting with types of sentences, and we will be discussing types of sentences, subject verb agreement, everything in details. uh, Before that, I want you to practice, go through whatever we have done today. Listen to the lecture again, go through your study material, go to the PPT that I have shared already. And most probably, I will be also sharing the questions, some practice questions based on whatever we have done today. I think it will be uploaded on the app that has been created for you guys, so you can actually solve those questions there, and I think submit your answers also there. uh, if everything is clear, please let me know everything is clear. If there is any problem, you can ask me now. I'll clarify the doubts. And do let me know how, if you like today's session. Okay, meet. Yes, your question. So, meet, whenever we are talking about the noun phrase is basically a phrase that again functions as a noun. If I say beautiful girl, that is a noun phrase, right? Because there's a noun and I'm describing something about the noun here, right? If I say a lot of food, right? This is also a noun phrase, right? Because food is a noun and a lot of is describing something about the noun, but majorly we are talking about the noun here. Meet, I hope that answered your question. Yes, an adjective phrase has, two or three adjectives together. Mary is slow and steady. So slow and steady, these are both adjectives. So this becomes the adjective phrase, slow and steady. Fast and furious, dazzlingly beautiful, right? So these are all adjective. Whenever adjectives come together and they are just alone, just the adjectives, that becomes adjective phrase. In verbs, you only have verbs. Anything else? Anything? Is there any other doubt? I hope verbs are clear to you. Subject, predicate is clear to you. Direct, indirect, object. About the clauses. You will actually learn about more about clauses when we do sentence types based on the structures. So clauses will give you more clarity at that time. All right, so that was it for today's class. I will meet you on 22nd now, and please be ready with your study material, your writing pads, and your doubts if there are any. Otherwise, we'll go ahead with the sentence types. All right, bye. Take care.